Yeah, it'll be good to get back on the mat. It'll be our third week off that we've had since Thanksgiving break, and it was good there right before finals. Get some guys healed up, they can take care of their classes and all that. So, it's just good to have that little break, especially after 4 opens, and kind of just had some, unfortunate injuries this fall, and nothing season ending wise, but most of the guys will be back and hopefully wrestle in Reno. We still may hold out a couple of them, or a couple guys that have had some other injuries, some new injuries. But by the most part, we should be pretty healthy for Sunday out in Reno. Well, there's a lot of different divisions there. Junior college divisions, there's the NAI divisions, some Division II, a lot of D1 programs. Last year, I think University of Wyoming won it, Oregon State, Boise State. We placed in the top 8 or 9 last year. I can't remember what it was, and other than one team, we were the next behind all the Division I programs. Had some good wins against Cal Poly, Boise State, Arizona State. We placed against all those, or placed ahead of all those teams. So, as far as where we're at, go out, get good matches. It's good for some of our upper guys to get good matches, and then some of our younger guys, or I shouldn't say younger because it's mainly varsity kids and all that, but some of the guys, Jason Burr that's young, still have some opportunity to wrestle some other kids from other schools and that. So it be a good competition for us. It's right before break. It's on Sunday. Then we come back and break, and then get after it after Christmas. I think it's pretty good. The week before finals and then last week, we kind of just, we didn't have super intense practices. Tried to just keep guys healthy, let them concentrate on their grades, come in when you can come in. And you can't make it mandatory, of course, but get the guys in there, let them worry about their grades. That's most important right at that time of year, and that's why we kind of pull off the competition there. Do the high school tournament that we had 2 weeks ago, and do a little recruiting. It's a good time for us to do some recruiting, go watch some of these high school kids and all that. So, it's just a good time, and then this week we're starting to pick up the tempo a little bit, start getting a little more intense practices, and, get after it a little more. Now, I think anytime you can rest your guys a little bit, I'm all for it. I try to schedule even in the spring. We'll go a good hard week of maybe three duels. We got the RMACs this year and all that. And then the next weekend we might try to take it off, And I think sometimes you gain a lot by giving some guys some time off. Give them a weekend off, and again, that gives us opportunity to do some recruiting and all that. So, I'm all about, getting your matches in. We've got 16 dates that we can actually wrestle. Get those dates in. Try not to just spread it out where they're making weight every week consistently. I think, make weight, and probably goes against a lot of theories, but make it 1 week and then give them a little bit of break. And then, as long as they're maintaining that weight. We try to check their weight at least once a week, visually ourselves, just to make sure they're not getting too big and all that. But, anytime you can take a little break, I think it helps. Really, once you have them in condition and all that, doesn't mean that, I'm not a huge condition guy in the room day in and day out as far as sprints and all that. We probably do that 1 day a week. But as far as their just wrestling condition, you do that just, once they get into condition and they, taking care of themselves and not, and they're training, outside of the room and all that, they pretty much stay in decent conditioning. Doesn't mean that you don't want to keep peaking them, as you get towards the regional and the nationals. That's what your goal is for us. I mean, you can have a bad year all year long, and you get to the regional and have a good tournament. You can qualify for nationals and even be an All-American. So that's what's neat about our sport is you only have 2 tournaments that really count. Well, that's part of, basically 8-9 days off is not a huge long time. The mental part comes in to if they're maintaining their weight. If they're coming in and they're too heavy, and then they're having to, suck down a lot those last couple days, then they start losing that mental part. So we try to train them mentally right now to, keep that weight down. Try to keep your weight down, maintain, because if you come in 20 over, it's a long week for them, trying to get that down. And, and some guys can lose 8 or 9 practices in the room, so a lot of it depends on 8 or 9 pounds in the room. Depends on how much, how big they are. Little guys can't lose that, of course. But we'll put 15 on the mat. That's what we can actually enter in that tournament. We can actually enter 1 per weight and then 5 extras wherever we want to add them in there. So, I think at 141s we may have 3 guys at 141s. One of them will be a point scorer, but we should be able to fill the weights. We maybe not fill the heavyweight. We'll see where we're at still there, but by the most part, we should be able to, fill the weights. We'll, have our varsity 33-pounder back that we have not wrestled a match. 84s has only wrestled one match. Randy Berner will be back, which he was an All-American for us last year. His first matches will be this weekend, and then Marcus Hoyen at 197s will be on the mat for the first time. And again, if we go with our heavyweight, it'll be his first match. So we've got 5 weights that we haven't even put our varsity guy on the mat yet. I don't think we really have our lineup quite set. I think, after Reno, we're hoping that, 157s right now is, with Jason Burr and Nick Swanson, both those guys battling there, and both have wrestled well. I think that's one weight that's kind of undetermined right now. 165s with Bruno Nicoletti, and Jesse Hofschneider. Both those guys will wrestle out in Reno, and you look at common opponents that maybe they wrestled, or maybe they'll even wrestle each other. That kind of helps a little bit, but nothing yet for the RMACs, and you could show up at the RMACs and then have 5 different guys wrestling at the regional, at some of those weights. So we've got our traveling team pretty much set, which would be 15, 16 guys. And then you got your red shirts and some of your backups there as far as that goes. But, right after Christmas, we've got a duel the 6th and 7th, and then the 9th. So three duels in a row in the Tracy Boras. And so we'll travel 15, 16, and maybe a couple 25-pounders. One may have to bump to 33s if you got a 133-pounder gets banged up or whatever. So you always kind of shuffle in there. A prime example of that is UNC last year when we wrestled UNC. We bumped guys all over in there just to be ready for Highlands and Colorado School of Mines the next 2 nights. Kind of I'd say a spot duel for us, where it didn't mean that much. Let's just throw them in. We still lost by a point, but didn't mean a whole lot. So let's not throw our whole varsity out there right now and try to win this duel, which meant nothing. We still had their chances to win that duel and lost by a point. We've wrestled, D1 competition. We go out to, UNK. We're catching a lot of Nebraska kids, from the University of Nebraska, and you've got, you catch Wyoming a lot. We've seen them at UNC. We've seen them at University of Wyoming. They've sent some guys down here to our tournament. So we see a lot of those Air Force a lot. This will be some good California D1 schools we don't see much. Boise State, will be out there. But it's a good gauge for us. Anytime you can go out and wrestle these guys, and that's why you very rarely see a Division II wrestler that's undefeated, because of the nature of opens and these tournaments where there's D1 schools and all that. Other than maybe a little bit, not knowing where they're at with an injury, a knee injury or whatever it may be, if they're not confident, that would be the only pressure. If we wrestle them a match or 2 matches and we feel like they've got out of it what we need to, we'll pull them out. We'll just pull them out and they'll be done with the tournament. We're just, don't put a lot of stock into it. It's a good time to get matches, but don't put a lot of stock into it. It'd be great to win the Reno, which is probably not going to happen. But, as far as winning the whole tournament, like I said, there's Oregon State, there's, last year Cleveland, Ohio was out there, University of Cleveland, and so there's a lot of, big time schools out there. So for us, it's just getting out there, getting the competition in. The tournament works for our schedule. It works for our schedule. It wouldn't work if we actually had finals this week. It's just too tough to prepare your guys to wrestle in a meet like this, with finals this week. It just works for our schedule. It works for our break, where we can come back on the 29th, 30th after the holidays, 10 days off. If we'd have gave them this whole week off, and then you can't come back actually in Division II competition until the 27th of December. So that's 15, 18 days off. That's too much time off. So Reno works where we can drive to it. We don't have to fly. It just works in our schedule. Well, I think, Marcus Hoyen at 197s, really looking forward. He hasn't wrestled a match for us yet. He's a transfer in from Grand Canyon. Madison Gambrell at 133s, his first match as well, transfer from Grand Canyon. So those guys we really are excited to see. Zach Slotin has wrestled in one tournament this fall, which is our open, and so we're excited to see how he does at varsity competition and that. And any of those guys, Randy Berner, just 2 weeks ago off of his surgery from last spring, is getting ready to go. So those guys are real excited to see where they're at and all that. And then no doubt Hofschneider and Daniel Salzar, Jason Burr, Nick Swanson, all those guys. It's going to be exciting to see how they're doing.